When Kobe and I decided to create a podcast and coined it the Father-Son Podcast, most would feel this is a gimmick for the podcast, and that couldn't be further from the truth. From the day Kobe was born, I introduced him to video games. This was a way of life for me, as I can remember my father buying me the Odyssey home system, where the cellophane field that clung to the TV determined what game you were playing. Kobe's love for video games grew, as did the bond of a father and a son. When I introduced him to online play, his world opened to new heights. He learned quickly that the incredible gaming experience wasn't just something shared between a father and a son, but there was an entire world that shared his passion for gaming. Gaming was just part of his upbringing, as school or sports was. We always made arrangements that a video game experience was just an arm's length away, even when we went on vacation. As Kobe got older, our experience took us to the road, experiencing events like the Great E3 to more modern events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Experience, IGN, and PAX. Kobe graduated from college and now works in the video game industry on the Xbox team. So, as you can see, it was nothing but natural progression to now share our experience and love of the industry through our podcast. Now sit back and enjoy the ride.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming Podcast, where we talk all things video games right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. What is up, everyone? Kevin, how are you doing today?
Hey, not too bad. A week later, still backed up on my backlog here. I am closer to finishing my Maiden Skr. Got a little bit further in my Donkey Kong, but other than that, just trying to play some video games.
Yeah, I was actually able to finish Donkey Kong Bonanza this last week, and I can certainly say that that game is absolutely phenomenal. It's one game where it definitely starts great, and then as you progress, it continues to just reveal its secrets, and once you start to get to the final acts of that game, it becomes a 10 out of 10 platformer. I cannot think of another game since in a long time that has matched this joy. I know Astrobot was last year, and Astrobot is another great 3D platformer. But what Nintendo has done with Donkey Kong Bonanza is truly something special. And I really encourage everyone, if you have a Switch 2 or on the fence of the Switch 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza is that killer app. I cannot glaze the game enough. It's a joy to be had, and it's one that should be played.
No, I agree. I can't wait to get through it, and it's really keeping me entertained through the whole time. And before we get started, I just want to show a little bit of love to everybody. Thank you very much for everything that you did last week. We did some incredible numbers last week. I couldn't believe it. Holistically, over all of our views on all of our socials, we're up to about 3,500. Incredible, more than I ever thought we would. I'll tell you, we got about 13 shirts ordered. Thank you very much. Love the orders there. And I actually got 2 orders coming in, or 2 people sending in some collections to our website. And we sold a couple of our eBay. So again, thank you guys. Appreciate all the love that you're showing outside the podcast. That's really what we're here to do, is help you.
Yeah, fully agree. I think the love that we've been shown, the outward support already, and we're just getting started. Like last week was just the start of this thing. We have so much more in the pipeline. And thinking about that, I want to get into some housekeeping. So for this week, DJ Soto did have a last minute conflict that he had to attend to. So that is why we switched topics to our most anticipated games for the rest of 2025. But don't worry, we do have some exciting episodes in the pipeline. So coming up over the next 4 weeks, next week, August 11th, we are going to be going over the state of physical media with Planet Retro Video Games live at the store. Dad, if you want to talk about this one, this is pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, if you remember back to last week's podcast, I told you one of my favorite brick and mortar stores is Planet Retro Video Games. And I have the pleasure, Kobe's going to have the pleasure, that we are actually going on our first remote live podcast. So we will actually be sitting right in the middle of his video game store down in Quakertown. And again, as I said before, if you haven't checked out his Whatnot, check it out. It's one of the best Whatnots out there. So we're going to have the pleasure to meet Dan, the owner, talk about how he got into video games, his sales, all the way up to, how he opened up a video game store, into the physical media conversation.
Yeah, super excited for that one, as physical media is a hot topic, especially between us in the ever-growing digital landscape. So getting opinions from a video game store owner who has been in the business for a very long time is going to be super beneficial. After that, we are going to be tackling how has live streaming affected the video game industry with DJ Soto. So the episode that was supposed to happen this week will be happening on August 18th. Then on August 25th, we will be diving into, does the industry forget about older gamers? As my dad here tends to complain about video games getting a little too hard nowadays and maybe not as accessible for an older generation. And the big exciting news for us is on September 1st, we are taking the show on the road. We are going to be live in the venue from PAX West here in Seattle, Washington. We're going to be going over all the video games that we saw, the event itself, and just going over the entire event. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I'm just excited to bring it on the road. For those of you that don't know what PAX is, they actually have a PAX East and a PAX West. They bring in, it's almost like an E3 type event where they bring in industry people, they bring in vendors, and it's a real great time. Kobe and I were there last year, met a lot of great people there, and we hope to just have some fun with it, like this podcast. It's all about just being entertaining to you guys, sharing some industry information, having conversations, and having fun.
Exactly. I do want to say hello to the chat. I see Rampage, Lady, Mexant. They are all showing love to us. So hello to all of you. I hope you're doing great. So with that, we're going to start talking about the Nintendo Partner Direct that has happened last week. Chat, if you've watched the Direct last week, let me know your thoughts of what you thought. So I'm going to pass it to you, Dad. Did you watch the Nintendo Partner Direct 2025? What did you take away from it? Are you excited for the future of Switch 2 and their partner relationships?
Well, I'd like to first start off and just show I'm not surprised they weren't showing some love to the Switch 1, because when they started it off, they said they would put up Switch 2 logos and Switch 1 logos to whatever it played. Because when you sell 153 million consoles, you can't just shut that spigot off. I mean, that's business suicide at that point. So I wasn't surprised to see that they were throwing that in there, because again, it's a direct. They're talking about their future and the new games that are coming out. But the one I'll start with was the Katamari. I mean, how many times can you roll a big ball around the city and pick up stuff? I mean, I just wasn't excited about that. That was one that just stuck out.
I think Katamari is a great game, and I think it's one of those things where you're starting to see a lot of love be poured into older video game genres. And I think in the ever growing landscape of kind of rinse and repeat of the triple A's, I think it's okay to go back to rinse and repeat from older genres as well. Like, I think we have a lot of Call of Duties nowadays, a lot of FPSs, a lot of sports games. Let's show some love to the weird ones. I'm for this. I think there's an audience for it and there's a place for it to be.
Sure. And then the next thing I saw, and it was Just Dance coming out. Just Dance for the Switch, kind of, you know, shrugging my shoulders. I do the Just Dance on the Switch, but I thought, Kobe, wasn't Ubisoft, weren't they talking about putting Just Dance up as one of the IPs for sale?
So there were a lot of conversations of what IPs Ubisoft is going to sell, and Just Dance, I don't think was part of that conversation because what a lot of people don't realize is Just Dance is a big moneymaker for them. It is their annual release, and it does numbers. So I don't see them getting rid of that. Like, I think Just Dance for them is in the same conversation as Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, where it is going to be their annual release. It's one that they're going to rely on to help supply their business. I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm not surprised to see it because I think Switch is probably one of the last platforms that Just Dance is even released on. And like you said, Switch has 153 million users, and that's one of the best family games out there at the moment. You can throw it on. It's like a Mario Kart. You throw it on, people will know what to do, and they have fun.
Sure. I also thought they threw out some comfort games, and I'll explain what I mean by comfort games. Throwing out the Dragon Ball and the Persona, like to me, they're going to sell no matter what console. Especially Persona with Atlas. You Atlas produces any game, and that will 100% sell. But I thought it was kind of comfort game. Like let's take a little bit of a chance on some of them, throwing out those easy sellers. They're what I call the softball games. You know they're going to sell.
Persona continues to have a huge audience, and I'm glad that Atlas is supporting the Switch too. I think the one thing I do want to touch on with this whole direct in general is I am shocked to see not many newer titles being put onto the Switch 2 yet. 'Cause when the Switch 2 was first shown to the world in that direct, they promised 4K graphics, 60 frames. And I think the one thing is there was rumors going around that there wasn't Switch 2 development kits being sent out to publishers. And I think what this direct showed is that actually might be the case. That rumor might have some validity to it because, for example, which I'm going to say now, I do work at Xbox. None of my opinions represent the company. I am only speaking for myself. But we don't see any Xbox titles being pushed to the Switch 2 yet. We see them pushing Gears of War Reloaded to PlayStation. We see them putting Forza, Sea of Thieves. I'm really shocked to not see any mention of Xbox titles, even Call of Duty, because during the whole FTC trial, they said Call of Duty, there was the whole plan and deal with Nintendo that the next 10 years of Nintendo will have Call of Duty on it. So where is it? And I think those are some of the things that I wish we had answers to. But I'm not overly disappointed with the slate that we got in this direct itself. I think Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, as a Zelda fan, I think that looks pretty fire. I'm pretty excited to see, as I never got a chance to play the older Hyrule Warrior games on Switch 1. So I want this to be my like entry into the series. Monster Hunter Stories 3, Monster Hunter Stories has an audience. Monster Hunter is one of the largest IPs right now. And I think having this game come out on the Switch 2 is going to do huge numbers. Stories 1 and 2 were exclusive to Switch at first and got ported to other platforms. But I'm curious to see what this is going to do. And the other game that really stuck out to me was The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. Square Enix always puts out a great JRPG. And I think this one looks different enough where it's not a traditional turn-based JRPG as they do with these HD 2.5 pixel games. This one is real-time action. And the demo is currently out right now. You can go download it on Switch 2. You can give it a shot. So I'm very much interested in this game to see how that releases in 2026.
Well, one of the things that I thought, it's not my favorite game that they showed, but I think the idea to me, I absolutely love it, was Plants vs. Zombies. They are actually bringing back couch co-op. I think that that's a part of gaming that is lost. Being the older gamer, and DJ was here at this point because we did a ton of it back in the original Xbox days. We would link our two Xbox consoles together and play Halo, the LAN parties. But bringing back co-op, couch co-op, to me, that's what it is. Getting together. I think we've got away from it where, yes, we still play online and we get together with the friends. Nothing beats sitting next to the person and playing some couch co-op. So Plants vs. Zombies isn't my favorite announcement in this, but the couch co-op by far exceeds any announcement. Bringing that back, I hope other games follow soon with that as well.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I do want to touch on is looping back to what you said, which is comfort games. And Plants vs. Zombies is a comfort game. It's been around for so long, and getting the best possible version on a device that's on the go is amazing. I just want to loop in a couple people from chat before we move on to the next topic. Mexent said that they cannot find Just Dance on the PS5 anymore, only on the PS4. So I think having Just Dance on a next generation console is gonna do numbers. I think that's why they keep releasing it. Party Muffins says, very excited for Persona. I'm glad you are. Persona is a very popular franchise. I know it has a lot of fans, and the idea of it being on the go, I think, entices a lot of people, especially Persona 3 Reloaded, what is known to be the best version of Persona 3. And some people haven't gotten the chance to play Persona 3. So if this is your first time doing it, I think this is a great opportunity. Then Lady asks, what do we think about the Steam Deck? Pass it off to you first.
I do own the Steam Deck. I like the Steam Deck. I want to say that I'm leaning towards, I have the Steam Deck, I have the ROG Ally, I have the Switch 2. I like the Steam Deck. I guess it all depends on what I'm playing, lady, is what I take with me. Like if I'm into my Xbox games, I'm taking my Ally. I'm flying out to Seattle, tomorrow or Wednesday morning. So again, if I'm right now, I'm into the Donkey Kong. I got to take my Switch too, but I'm blessed to be able to have that I take what the option is. I love the Steam Deck when it came out. I couldn't put the Steam Deck down, but I even have a PS Portal, and I know that's not in the handheld world, but even sitting around the house, I love playing the Portal. So I am a handheld guy. Sitting right next to me, I got my Game Boy, I have my Portal, I have them all. But love the Steam Deck. It just depends on what I'm playing.
For me, I think the Steam Deck is a very interesting case. I had bought the Steam Deck in 2020 when COVID was happening, because I was also going to be traveling in 2021. I think they opened pre-orders in 2020, and then it came like a year later, or I forget the timeline. But either ways, I bought the Steam Deck thinking I was going to use it a lot. But I find myself being that I just kind of want to sit at my PC. Like I don't necessarily want to play my PC games on the couch, if that makes sense. Like the Steam Deck is a great device, don't get me wrong. And I've been saying this to a lot of people where I think handheld is for a very specific type of person. And if you want to be on the couch with your PC library, but also kind of sacrifice some of the graphical fidelity and the performance, and you're fine with that, and you like the idea of portability, I think it's a good device. But me, I have a decent gaming rig. I like to have all the bells and whistles, and that's what I just kind of find myself doing. By all means, it's not a bad device in the slightest. It's actually really great. I think comfortability wise, it's pretty good. Price wise, I think it's very enticing. But yeah, I think it just depends on the kind of gamer that you are. Rampage says PS Portal or PSP, OG.
Well, I was a PSP player as well, and I really truly believe they're two different genres. I'll tell you when I use my portal. Again, I sit in here, I play the games. I am married, so I gotta spend time with my wife sometimes. So I'll go in and I'll take the portal and I'll sit on the couch and I'll quietly play the portal while we're watching TV. So that's the way that I use the portal. I'm not one to say I don't spend the money for whatever the PS, plus is, or I don't even know what their levels are anymore, so that I can play it outside. I'm just that's just not me. I like all my handhelds to download it, that I can take it out and do it, that I don't have to rely on Wi-Fi or anything like that, because 90% of the time when you're traveling, the Wi-Fi is sketchy everywhere, and all it does is make you upset that you can't play your game. So even when I took the Steam Deck out, I would download the games onto the Steam Deck and play them that way. I would never try to play them from the Wi-Fi. So that's kind of my opinion of the PS Portal versus the PSP. But I was a big PSP fan as well.
Yeah. And before we move on to the final topic, I just want to pull in one more thing from chat. Shemplu says, I have the Steam Deck and I keep wanting to pull away from sitting at the PC and get on the couch. I started streaming more and more from the PC to the Steam Deck, and I'm enjoying it. I think there's multiple use cases for these handheld devices, and I think it just kind of depends on where you're at in life and what you really want in gaming. But the next thing I want to move on to before the topic of the show is, did you get a chance to watch the THQ Nordic Showcase at all?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
or
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't superly impressed, other than one game that I'm really psyched and pumped for, which I don't want to take your thunder away because I know that you're pumped
Yeah.
as I am with it.
Yeah. So I think the THQ Nordic Showcase, I think it's important that these showcases happen, highlighting AA games in the gaming industry. I think AA games have started to see a decline, in the Xbox One, PS4 era, but I'm starting to see a lot of AA games come back. And to have these publishers really push these kinds of experiences, I think is important. But as you alluded to, you didn't want to steal my thunder. I think the game of the show was SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide. I grew up a SpongeBob kid. I love SpongeBob. Don't judge me, but Battle for Bikini Bottom is one of the best 3D platformers I've ever played in my life. I grew up playing it, and anytime a new SpongeBob game comes out, I am seated. No matter how bad or good, I will be seated for my boy SpongeBob. So, Titans of the Tide looks great. I'm glad to see that they're continuing the 3D platforming games with SpongeBob, because even the Cosmic Shake, while not the greatest SpongeBob game, it was still pretty decent. The other one I want to shout out is Darksiders 4. Darksiders 4, it is in the long Darksiders franchise at this point. Each of those games, I think, are just kind of comfort food. They're good. They're not the best of the world. They're not the worst. They're good games, and they're super fun. And having all four horsemen come into the one game that's actually going to be 4-player co-op, I think is going to be huge. And the other one I just want to point out, there's actually two more. Gothic 1 Remake, I think, continues to look pretty good and very promising. It is a very dark fantasy RPG, and I eat those kinds of games up all the time. I think the demo is still out on Steam, or it was during Steam Next Fest. I got a chance to check it out, and I'm really excited for it. And then finally, Reanimal, which is a 2D horror game made by the original creators of Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2. It's going to be a haunting co-op adventure, and it just looks grotesque. It looks bleak, and I'm very excited to see what this studio is cooking up. With that, I would like to start to transition into the topic of the show, which is, what is our most anticipated games for the rest of 2025? And I'm going to pass off to you, Dad, first. Each of us brought 5 games that we want to start to go over and talk about. So for you, what is your first game that we're ordering from 5 to 1 on both sides. So this is in your 5, the least anticipated to most anticipated. So in your top 5, what is first?
For my 5th, I'm an Outer Worlds fan. I'm looking for Outer Worlds 2. Part of the reason why is I'm an Obsidian fan. I loved Avowed this year. I thought they hit Avowed out of the park. Fallout. I'm a Fallout fan in general, but the Fallout New Vegas I thought was one of the best games in the Fallout library. But Outer Worlds 2, I absolutely loved. I thought it was great. I thought it really played if you want to call it Fallout-esque. Now, I know this one coming out, they said, well, you get complainers everywhere, especially when it's against Xbox. They just like to complain, and I think they're outstanding games. But this Outer World 2, they said, there's too much color, there's this. I really love the fact that they made it a little more colorful, made it a little bit more whimsical that they're playing through. But the thing I love best, and this is a shout out to Xbox, not because Kobe works there, but again, this was going to be an $80 game coming out. And I love the fact that Xbox kind of took a step back and said, you know what? We're not doing this. We're going to bring it back, and we're going to bring the prices back down to $70 for the games. So again, my fifth most anticipated game that I'm looking to play between now and December is Outer World 2.
And I do want to point out, along with the $80 reduction, they also took a step back, and the physical copies on Xbox now include a disc. It is no longer just a digital game code. So they are also now including the disc in the standard and deluxe physical editions of the game. At first, it was only going to be on PS5 that had the disc, but both versions now have the physical copy. Whether or not the full game is on the physical copy, that is another conversation, but a disc will be included. For me, I think Outer Worlds 2 looks interesting. I never played Outer Worlds 1, but I love Obsidian. Fallout New Vegas is one of the best RPGs ever made, and I really love Avowed from this year. I think the team knocked it out of the park with Avowed. I think the colorfulness of the fantasy world, the combat, the companions, the way that the game flowed, everything just kind of worked for me. And I was really itching for a Bethesda style game this year, and Avowed really scratched that itch. So taking that, but making it sci-fi, I think I'm all in for this one.
And let's take a step back. Obsidian, releasing 3 games in 1 year?
Yeah. Grounded 2 is coming out this year as well. Which, by the way, one lucky viewer is going to be winning a Grounded 2 copy in this stream. And the other copy will be given on our Discord. So if you would like to join our Discord for a chance to win another copy of Grounded 2, which will be the Steam version, here will be the Xbox Play Anywhere version.
Yeah, I just want to take a side step. I know Lady, because I saw her, she's part of a Discord playing it, and I saw her playing it yesterday. And hopefully it's good, because Grounded 1 I thought was outstanding, and Grounded 2 I'm hoping to play it. I have not played it yet, so.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to say on Outer Worlds 2?
I do not.
Okay. So for my fifth anticipated game in my list is going to be Chronos: The New Dawn. So, if anyone is familiar with Chronos: The New Dawn, Chronos: The New Dawn is being made by Bloober Team. This is the team that made Silent Hill 2 Remake, The Medium, Layers of Fear, and a few other horror games. Now, Bloober Team at first was a very small studio, and it was very smaller horror experiences. But if any of you have ever played Silent Hill 2 Remake, you know that the studio really stepped up their game. Silent Hill 2 Remake was amazing. One of the best horror experiences from last year. The way that they were able to take the source material and modernize it with better controls, better gameplay, amazing graphics, and way better voice acting. It really brought the world of Silent Hill to the modern era and really reintroduced it to a modern audience. Now, Chronos: The New Dawn is the next game up on their slate. And Chronos: The New Dawn is a fully original IP by them. And for me, none of you may know this yet, but one of my favorite games of all time is Dead Space. And when you look at Chronos: The New Dawn, it is really giving me those Dead Space vibes that I really want. And the game just looks super promising. I think this whole idea of 1980s like Poland that got hit by some disaster, and you are going through trying to find what you are known as the traveler, and you are trying to find the past traveler that went through this, and you're trying to find out what happened and what is causing all of this horror to happen and all these creatures. Every time I see this game, I think the visual presentation looks to be absolutely stunning. The gameplay looks right up my alley with the resource management, the horror survival skills, the combat. everything I think is firing on all cylinders for me. I think the only thing is previews did come out and people do say it is a little rough around the edges right now from the build that they played. And the game is ridiculously hard at the moment. The developers did say, at this point that they understood that the game was a little challenging and they are fine tuning it. And they did say that they are taking some Dark Souls like inspirations for this game. It's not a Souls like, but kind of how Dark Souls works in terms of difficulty, they are trying to apply to this. Dad, do you have anything to say about Chronos: The New Dawn?
Yeah, first off, as I've joked this with Kobe numerous times, I am going to coin Souls like, so that every time somebody says Souls like, they have to pay me for it. So I'm going to go out and coin that, because everything anymore is Souls like. But, and please, the Nintendo fans, don't get upset with me. But when I was watching the Nintendo Direct and they showed Chronos, the first thing that came to my mind was, it's about time Nintendo's putting the big boy pants on and going to show a game that's really for the adults. But I am digging this. As you know, Kobe, I am also, a Dead Space fan. I like this genre. I am a person that likes, just about any game that is doing post-apocalyptic and focused around the Poland post-apocalyptic thing. I just think that it's getting something unique and something different, which I'm really looking forward to. But yes, I think this game is going to knock it out of the park. And again, not foreshadowing one of our upcoming episodes, but I hope they make it, dumb it down a little bit. Us old guys, our fingers just don't move that fast anymore to play the harder games. So give me the story mode and I'd be happy with it.
I mean, I do hope they at least add some difficulty options at the very least. Resident Evil, Dead Space, the games of this genre all come with difficulty that introduces more ammo, enemies with less health. And I do want to point out the one thing with this gameplay that I found really interesting is the combat relies a lot on you charging up your pistol that you see here. You can't just spray and pray and kill these enemies. Like these enemies, like you need to fully charge your shots and aim and shoot right at them. And the other thing is what I really like, when these enemies die, if you don't burn them, there is a chance that they morph with other enemies and they become a level 2 or a level 3, like a hybrid creature. So I think there's a lot of dynamicness to this game that I think is pretty interesting. But moving on, Dad, what is your fourth game?
Yeah, before I get to the fourth game, I see Shimblow's asking, it's Chronos it is set in post-apocalyptic Poland.
Yes, I believe it is Poland that they said, and I could be misremembering, but
okay.
Yes.
My fourth game, and I saw them talking about it in the chat a little bit here. My fourth game is Mafia: The Old Country. I am a massive Mafia fan, and as much as I'm anticipating this, I hear what you guys are saying, and I guess where I'm going to step back and give the somewhat questionable negative is this is not open world. It's a linear game. So that's where I'm going to kind of hold my breath on this, because I do love my open world sandbox games as well. And Mafia has traditionally been that open world. So this one's going to kind of run a linear, so a little bit, but I love the Mafia games. I love going back to the old world of Italy, going back and seeing what this is, going back to I'm hoping it is the start of what Mafia and the Mafia, how it started in the old world, is coming out. So again, when it's Hangar 13 teaming up with 2K, I just think that Hangar 13 and 2K put together, I don't know, and I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, guys, I'm hoping that they again put something that's not going to be disappointing. I've never been disappointed from a Mafia game. And it's funny, Kobe and I talk about this all the time, that no matter what it is, no matter if it's movies, no matter if it's video games, if the franchise or the studio hasn't burned us up till now, I'll always give it that chance, just in, because they haven't burned us. So everybody can burn us once in a while, but they haven't burned us yet. So I'm going to give it the full college try here.
I do want to say the one thing with this game, it is $50. It is nowhere near a full price title. I think they're pricing it accurately to what the experience is going to be. Also, let's be real, Mafia is not their big title. Open world, or now open world coming out. Grand Theft Auto 6 is on the horizon. I think 2K is very fine in the near future with sales. But, I even like Mafia 3. I think Mafia 3 was a good game. It had a lot of problems, but I still thoroughly enjoyed the story. And I'm actually not upset that Mafia the Old Country is going to more of a linear fashion, because with Mafia 3, so let's back up. The Mafia lineage was never open world. Mafia 1 was never an open world game. It was this linear style that had like open sections. But like I played the Mafia 1 Definitive Edition a couple of years back, and it's not a traditional open world game that many like Mafia 3. Even Mafia 2 wasn't traditionally open world. It was much more of like a linear structure that you so happen to go through this open map to get through points A to B, if that makes sense. Like, to me, Mafia 1 and 2 is a game that is disguised as an open world game, but it really isn't. It is a linear story. Mafia 3 tried to go full open world, but the one issue with that game was the open world was very bland and boring, and the side activities really had little to no consequence. But Mafia 3's story was incredible, such a blast to experience. So if Mafia the Old Country can even match the quality of Mafia 3's story, I think we have a hitter here.
I just want to say, though, Kobe, you said one thing, the Grand Theft Auto coming out. Just to let the chat know, if Grand Theft Auto was coming out this year, my top 5 would be Grand Theft Auto, 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 just so you know.
Yeah. That's going to burn the gaming world down. I think when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, you're going to see a record calling off of work on that day. I don't think anyone's going to be at their jobs on the Grand Theft Auto 6 release day.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a national holiday.
Oh, well, 100%, yeah. But the next game I want to start moving on to is my fourth pick, which is Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F, I am very intrigued about. So, with full stipulation and, transparency, I don't trust Konami a whole lot right now. Konami has definitely, we talked about burning bridges. Konami, has burned many bridges, especially after the whole Kojima debacle, which I'm not going to spoil my number one anticipated game just yet, but we're going to have a very interesting conversation about Konami and Kojima coming up. But I think Silent Hill F looks to be doing something pretty interesting. It is set in 1960s Japan, and many of the Silent Hill games before have been set in, it looks like rural America, based off of Centralia, actually. That was what the town was modeled after. So this is the first time that Silent Hill is going to this area, from my knowledge, in the video games. And correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think this is the first time we're exploring like an old Japanese village. And I think the horrors on display here, the gameplay and the combat, I think Silent Hill F has a potential of being a sleeper hit this year. I think many people are obviously cautiously optimistic about this game, just kind of given Konami's track record. But everything that they have shown just looks to be firing on all cylinders. And the funny thing is, previews have actually came out for this game. And I am a big Souls person. And the people are saying this game is like as difficult as a Souls game at this point. Like, this is a fully like melee based game that you are picking up weapons. There's weapon degradation. You are meleeing your way through. You're dodging. You're worrying about your stamina, going to checkpoints, and fighting these horrors along the way. I think this is a super unique take on the Silent Hill franchise, and I'm just so excited to see what they do with it. And apparently the game's going to be, they said 15 to 20 hours. There's going to be 4 or 5 endings. They're even bringing back the UFO ending from Silent Hill 2 Remake. I think there's a lot of potential for this one to really shock and surprise people.
Oh, let me just ask you a question. And chat, I promise you, this is as real as our conversations get. Kobe and I, one-on-one conversations, as I told you, driving home from work. So you're getting to see what it really is. And I'm going to ask you, Kobe, because I didn't know this. You said that it was set from Centralia, Pennsylvania?
I believe that's like, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what I've heard multiple times is that, and let me look it up here. I believe Silent Hill was based off of Centralia, or at least the movie was.
Wow. Because for those of you that don't know, Centralia is in Pennsylvania. I used to drive through it all the time going to work. Centralia ended up having to be abandoned by the government because there was mine fires underneath it. Again, you could go back in the history of how it started, the mine fires. But if you know anything about coal mines, there's big veins that go. And however it started, that vein of coal started to burn and they couldn't put it out. And you drive through on cold days and it would never, the snow would never lay. And it was eerie. You'd see smoke pillars coming out of the ground of it venting from down there. So that's interesting to me. I never knew
Yeah,
that.
I looked it up. It was the movie that directly was inspired by Centralia,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, not the games themselves. So there is some truth to the whole Centralia thing.
Yeah.
But I do want to move on. What is your next pick?
Well, just to kind of piggyback off of the Silent Hill, you put anything in Japan and I'm going to play it. I'm really looking forward to the Ghost of Yote. Sucker Punch did such an outstanding job with Ghost of Tsushima. Loved it, man. I just couldn't get enough. To me, when there's a game that you finish and put that many hours in and completely finish this, and then you say, boy, I want to keep playing, I want so much more, you know that it's a good game. And them taking the visuals from Ghost of Tsushima and putting it into the Ghost of Yote and continuing this on, I just think that this is going to be a home run. Again, I think this is going to be a game of the year contender. I know Ghost of Tsushima was, and they usually don't do it back to back, but I still put this up there. And Sucker Punch, to me, hitting it home run. If you want to do anything from Japan, give it to Sucker Punch, and I think they're going to hit this out of the park.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that this game is coming out the same year as Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I love Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is an incredible open world game, and I am so excited for Ghost of Yote. It looks like it's taking Ghost of Tsushima and just vastly improving on it and the formula that they had set. And they had already said that they are, trying to improve the open world because one of the main complaints with Tsushima was that a lot of the side activities really felt meaningless and it just kind of felt like bloat. And they said that they are cutting down on the side activities a little bit and they're just refining the open world and making everything more meaningful. Give me a revenge story. I'm a sucker for a revenge story, and get like positioning this almost as like a Kill Bill style kind of story. I am all in. And having the different weapons beyond the katana and having you learn all these different fighting styles is really good. And I'm also glad that this is set in a different period of Japan, not just a direct continuation of Tsushima, because I think that story had a natural conclusion, and I'm glad that we are moving away from Jin Sakai's story and moving on to this new protagonist here. But like I said, I'm very interested to see this game compared to Assassin's Creed Shadows. I had finished Shadows this year, and I was very underwhelmed by Assassin's Creed Shadows. I had wanted a Japanese Assassin's Creed for so long. And Shadows was a game that I had fun with, but I also had a lot of beef with. And I'm hoping that this just like scratches the itch. And I'm also curious, like, do you think the market is getting oversaturated with samurai games? Because within the last year, we had Rise of the Ronin, Assassin's Creed Shadows, now Ghost of Yote. We also had Wolong Fallen Dynasty. We had so many games of this style and period. Do you think it's starting to get oversaturated?
Well, I don't really think that it is because to me, I come from the adage, give the people what they want. And everybody's screaming for samurai in everything. We've seen it go through. There was a while that everything was vampire. There was a while that everything was zombies. We're just in that. There was a while that everything was superhero. We're just in that. Give the people what they want. If they want Japanese style samurais games, give it to them.
Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I'm very curious to see where this game goes, what the story is going to be, what they're going to portray, and also the game just looks absolutely stunning. This is going to be a visual feast on the PlayStation 5, and I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the DualSense and the haptic feedback. I think most of the first party PlayStation games, especially Astrobot, does incredible things with the DualSense and the way that they've ever implemented the haptic feedback. I hope to feel a lot of the grittiness of this game, even like the horseback riding here, and kind of having your hand feel through the fields, I think would be an incredible feeling on the controller. Do you have anything else to say on Ghost of Yotei?
I do not, but just, again, I see people really popping off about Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed was always in my top 5 favorite franchises, and they really need some help to pull that back in my favor, because I think each one keeps getting a little bit worse. Where, in my opinion, what's happening is they're recycling and repeating, rinse and repeat type thing, because even in Shadow, I got a little frustrated that it just got monotonous. And in another conversation, I think games got to start cutting out some of the bloat. You don't need to put a 70-hour, 50-hour game together. Bring it down to realistic 20-hour games, charge a little bit less, and make the game memorable than to kind of piss people off and put bloat in that's unneeded.
I agree. But before we continue with the rest of our anticipated games, I want to quickly take a word from our sponsor. Got games you don't play anymore? Turn that collection into cash at ActiveReloadGaming.com. It's fast, it's easy, and you get paid quick. Or if you are looking to buy, check us out on eBay or scroll through our Games by console. Find us at ActiveReloadGaming.com. And we are back. We're going to continue with the rest of our list, but I do want to shout out, I'm loving all the chatter in the chat. I think we got to keep it up. I like hearing all of your opinions. I still see a lot of talk about Assassin's Creed, and Rampage said Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and Revelations were the best ones in their opinion, along with Brotherhood. I think AC2 is probably where Assassin's Creed peaked. I think the Ezio trilogy is unmatched. I haven't played Black Flag, but I know a lot of people have and said that is the best one of the franchise, but I have no opinions on that. So
I think that they need to get back to the roots. I loved when they had more of the animus in there and brought in oh my goodness, what am I looking for? The Templars. They got to bring back in the Templars and the Apple and just bring that back. That to me is when Assassin's Creed was Assassin's Creed.
Fully agree. So the next pick that I want to talk about for my most anticipated games is a game known as Hell Is Us. Hell Is Us is one that popped up on my radar earlier this year. And I think this is by a new studio from my understanding. They're called Rogue Factor, and they're a small studio, and it's being published by Nacom, who also published the RoboCop Rogue City game. They published Terminator Resistance. They're kind of, publishing a lot of AA games, but Hell Is Us looks to be doing something super intriguing. And I'm hesitant to call this game a Souls-like because while it does look like it has that action RPG elements that is seen in a Souls-like game, I think the concept is pretty interesting. I just kind of want to read the Steam page here to you so people have an understanding of what this game is. And what the Steam page says is, if war is the closest we get to hell on Earth, it's because Earth harbors the worst of demons, humankind. In an isolated country ravaged by infighting, discover the secrets of your past and deal with the repercussions of a mysterious calamity. And if you have seen any gameplay, as I'm showing here before, it is that RPG where you are talking to people. And the thing is, what this game does, there is no objective markers. They completely cut that out of the game. And this game is fully reliant on you talking your way and figuring out your way through this war-torn world and kind of going along figuring out the mysteries. So it's a game that relies on the natural exploration of just life itself and going through this country, while also having these horrific like creatures on the outside of the battlefield or outside of this, like these isolated walls. And I'm gonna fast forward here a little bit to see if we can get to some actual combat or just more gameplay. But graphically, I think this looks very interesting. I like the style. I love the concept of a war-torn country. But like I said, I don't know if I want to call it a Souls-like just yet, but the action does have a reminiscence of a Souls-like. You were talking about this earlier to me, Dad. Well, what are your thoughts on Hell Is Us? When did you discover this?
Well, I think that, and I like this, and I'm going to sidebar just for a second. Please, anybody that's in the Discord, I am really getting into my horror games. So in our Discord, if you could put any suggestions of some great horror games, the normal stuff I've done, the Silent Hills, the Resident Evils, I'm looking for something unique. But what really brought my attention to this is it's really Adam Fall-esque in a sense, where there's no markers. You got to listen and pay attention to the people. The people are giving you clues of where to go next, and that's always been my feeling. And I'm one of them. When I play games and you pick up like the guy just did, he picked up a letter. Most of us just push that button to go buy it, and we never read the letter. And developers are putting this into the game for a reason. Well, I think when you take away the markers and you start putting in these cues of where to go, it forces you to really get into the games that in the way that the developers wanted you to play. And I'm going to say this because it's going to jump into the old person gamers. I don't like when there's not a marker. I call Kobe up and he's like, "How are you getting this game done?" And I get frustrated. And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know where to go next. Give me the marker. I'm going back to the old Fable days. Give me the little sparkly trail of where I need to run to next." And I love it. So again, I'm going to charge every time you say Souls like. That's the only thing that's throwing me off is, do I have the time with all of the games that are out, all the quality games that are out there? Do I have time to put in a 70-hour game? 40 hours of it's just me trying to find where to go next. That's the problem.
I don't know. I think a lot of and this is an interesting conversation because so many people in recent times have been complaining how hand-holding games are. And I think we're starting to see a shift to the completely opposite end of the spectrum where like, okay, no hand-holding. Just go for it and discover it. And I do think, the Souls genre has popularized that kind of game because if you ever play an Elden Ring or a Dark Souls, it doesn't tell you where to go. You're looking at these buildings, you're looking at these landmarks, you're like, your intuition's like, I want to go see that. And that is what makes the game so special is you see something in the distance. It's the old thing that Todd Howard said. It's like, you see that in the distance, you can go to it and like, that's what these games are, except there's no objective marker. It's just, you're relying on your own sense of wonderment of like, oh, I wonder what's over there. And you go and you get these incredible stories. But I am super intrigued in this game. I think there is a lot of potential with this. It can go either way. It can be, one of the Game of the Year contenders if everything hits. Because once again, the story here, I think, is what's really hooking me. I mean, I'm already a fan of these types of games to begin with, but the story concept, I think, is super intriguing. Or this game could, just be, it's fine. And it kind of gets lost amongst the others. But I think this one has a strong identity from the art style to the concept to what it's actually doing gameplay mechanically.
Yeah, and I just want to say I see that Shemplo says about he doesn't like picking them up. He hopes AI, reads them in the future. I'm with you. For those of you that don't know, I'm dyslexic as well. So when I have to read a lot, I start to lose the luster in the game because I focus more on how to read with dyslexia versus, what I'm actually reading. So I'm with you. Let it read. Open up the book and let it read to me, and I'm 100% fine.
Well, what that and thinking about games getting complicated, what is your second most anticipated game? Because this looks like to be returning to a very familiar form.
Yes, and I saw some people popping off in the chat about it, but my second is Battlefield 6. For those of you that watch the Battlefield, it just looks incredible. And here's the thing: no disrespect, I'm a Call of Duty fan, but we need to get Battlefield back to the contender to take down Call of Duty. And as much as I like Call of Duty, I'm Call of Dutied out. They need to let that sit for another year.
And I'm also tired of Beavis and Butthead, Cheech and Chong, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around. Like, I think it's fun, but that should kind of stay to Fortnite.
Yeah, and it's funny because again, this is the conversations Kobe and I had. I'm going to say it all the time. We just had this conversation, and I've coined it. These games are getting Fortnited, and you know, we need to keep that out. This is what I like what Battlefield's doing here, getting back to the grit of it. You know, I wish DJ was on because we said it last week that we love the vehicles, the helicopters, making this destruction. I thought in this, which was one of the coolest things, is if there's somebody on the second floor, you can go underneath it and you can blow them out of the second floor. Because we all know that anybody that plays COD and all this, if they're hunkered down on the second floor and they have somebody sharp shooting you as you come up the steps, it gets frustrating. Well, you know what? You got to think about it different. And you could blow the floor away and bring them down from underneath. And the big thing that again, I had the question with Kobe, and I don't know if the chat, if you're really into this or not, but is when you look at any of these, is what's the Firestorm? What are they?
The Battle Royale.
The Battle Royale, is that a game style that's played out at this point? Because where I was getting tough with it is historically Battlefield has called it Firestorm, and when they showed at the end of this, they showed the fire coming in again, and the only difference is instead of the ring, it's the fire bringing you in. But is the Battle Royale, is that played out? That's the only thing. But again, Battlefield bringing back the destruction. The biggest thing I thought that I went crazy over is for those of you that played Halo, I call it the Halo Forge. They are bringing in Battlefield that you will be able to create your own maps just like Forge. They give you all of the gaming assets to literally build your own maps. And then the way that I took it, just like Halo, you'll be able to make those maps public. So to me, that in itself is, you could spend hours making the perfect map in there. But what is your take on the Battlefield, Kobe?
Yeah, I mean, Battlefield 6, I'm at the point where I'm glad that the open beta is starting this week with the early access, and we have 2 weekends coming up of the open beta. Because I'm of the mindset of it looks too good to be true at this point, and I keep thinking, what's the catch, EA? Like, what are you hiding? Because everything that they have shown, they're bringing back campaign. Battlefield has needed a campaign for the longest time. Again, I love the vignettes in Battlefield 1 and 5. Give me these different stories of war. I think it really helped sell the full package. 2042 was completely missing that. Campaigns there. The multiplayer is returning back to what Battlefield used to be. We have classes again. We have assault, support, engineer, and recon. And there's class-based progression again. Okay, there's 9 maps at launch. Okay, there's like 7 game modes at launch. Okay, this is way more than what 2042 launched with. And I do see that there is a battle pass. That is the one thing I'm like, okay, maybe that's the catch. But they're saying like, all the skins are going to stay within the realm of Battlefield. They're not going to get crazy with it like Call of Duty. And I do want to say it's perfectly fine to play both games. Like I do see a bestie in the chat saying, loves COD, but Battlefield 6 graphics look sick. Fully agree. It's fine to play both of these games and enjoy both of these games. There's audiences for both. But as a longtime Battlefield fan, and I played Call of Duty my whole life as well, I need this kind of game again. And everything just looks to be amazing. Like I don't know what the catch is just yet, but I'm so excited for this. I wanted to put this on my anticipated list, but you took it before I did, because I still go back to Battlefield 5 with my friends. I still just love that moment-to-moment gameplay. Nothing beats Conquest, just running around, capturing all the flags, and like having these small proxy wars within the larger battle. Like Battlefield has a formula that has never been touched by anyone else. And if they can just land it again, bring me back to the days of Battlefield 3 and 4 and give me that feeling, I'm just sold. Like, I know people are saying don't pre-order, but if the beta lands, if I play this beta and it is an incredible experience, I'm pre-ordering this game because I have been wanting Battlefield to be back for so long, and this just might give it to me.
Nope, I couldn't agree more with that statement. And again, when you see my number one, you'll understand this probably would have been my number one, but those that know me will probably cringe at my number one. But we'll get to that.
And I do want to pull in one thing from chat. Shampoo said that they've played in the closed beta and have to admit, it is amazing. The graphics and audio feel visceral. It felt like they were actually in a real environment as they were playing.
Wow.
And that's the one thing I heard from the streamers who were playing the game over the week, which is the audio in this game is absolutely crazy. That it does feel very visceral, like Shem was saying, and just the immersive nature of it. I think Battlefield has a chance. All they need to do is not screw it up. In terms of the battle royale, I don't think the genre has played out because realistically now it's only Warzone and Fortnite. Games have came, they tried, they failed. There has been even PUBG is still around. I think there needs to be a new thing in the battle royale genre, and I think Battlefield needs players. People need to come in and experience this game. If the battle royale is their free to play mode to get people into the Battlefield franchise, I'm for it. And Battlefield feels like it was built for battle royale. You always had vehicles, you always had these large scale maps. I think it could be pretty good if done correctly. So
I agree 100% with that statement.
That's just my take though. But yeah, I am seriously looking forward to Battlefield 6. But I'm going to move on to my next pick. My number 2 is Ninja Gaiden 4. I grew up playing Ninja Gaiden as a series. My first one was Ninja Gaiden 2 on the Xbox 360. And the hack and slash genre has been gone for so long. I'm glad that, Final Fantasy 16 was able to come back and actually reintroduce the hack and slash genre to people. And with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black coming out this year, the remaster of the game, Ninja Gaiden's needed. This game looks to be absolutely stunning. Platinum Games has not missed with their combat from the Bayonetta series to this now. I am all in on Ninja Gaiden 4, and I'm glad that it's getting the proper funding and publishing from Xbox. And yeah, I don't have too much to say about this game. I'm just really excited because, like I said, hack and slash has been gone for such a long time and really has been taken over by the Souls-like genre. And, granted, I do love my Souls-likes, but, hack and slash dominated the 360 PS3 era of games. So many were copying the Ninja Gaiden formula. And, God of War was one of them, Dante's Inferno, Ninja Gaiden, Bayonetta. There were so many games that were akin to this. I'm just happy to see it make a comeback. I think it's going to help revive the action genre a little bit and bring a breath of fresh air of something we've been missing for so long.
I like Ninja Gaiden. I played it again through the 360. This is one that I will get, but I think it's going to fall back on my backlog list and maybe get lost because there's just too many games coming out. I'm excited, but I'm not super excited to play it. So if I don't have anything going on, I will 100% both feet jump into this and play it.
Yeah, and this does come out around the same time as Outer Worlds 2, so I think both are going to be fighting for time here. So we'll see, but I think Outer Worlds 2 is going to be a larger experience. Ninja Gaiden is going to be more focused, more linear. So I think there's going to be a space for both. So yeah. Well, with that, what is your most anticipated game for the rest of the year?
Here it is. People that know me, I couldn't pick anything else. And I don't care if they came out with this on, an old handheld Palm Pilot. I would still be excited to play this. Mine is Gears of War Reloaded. I am the biggest Gears of War fan. I don't care if they redo Gears 1 100 times. I'm going to be excited every year 100 times. I have honestly played Gears of 1 and finished it, and I'm not exaggerating. I'll bet you I finished this game 30 to 40 times. I am just a fan of the franchise. They can do nothing wrong in my eyes. Yeah, 4 and 5 were a little sus, but everybody has downtime. I am so excited that they're bringing this back. Now, the issue that Kobe, I'm going to open the door here. For the last 2 years, we've been having an ongoing bet, that there was the almighty Phoenix collection, the Marcus Phoenix collection that never came out, and I've constantly owed, money to Kobe on this. But my feeling that this is just the first, because they're opening this up to PlayStation now and everything else. I believe they're going to remaster what I think is the best game of the series is 2. I think that's going to follow. And then 3, because it makes sense. If they put it all together in one Marcus Phoenix collection, they couldn't make as much money. And I'm all for making as much money for the franchises, because that just means they could put more money back into creating what is my favorite franchise of all time. So to me, this reload, I got it. I've already pre-ordered it on, even though I can get it for free on my Game Pass. I pre-ordered the physical on PlayStation 5. I'm going to play through it, see what the graphics are, see what the gameplay is, and then I want to get on and wreck some newbies on the multiplayer that never played it, that are PS5 noobs, and I'm going to wreck them on it. But I can't say enough about this. I'm so glad that they're bringing it back. So glad that it's getting remastered. I hope every new generation of consoles, they remake it. I'm fine with it. And my feeling, because those that are hardcore Gears or any other Xbox exclusive fans, I don't really care. I do not care if they put it on Nintendo, if they put it on PlayStation. I do not care. I like playing it on my ecosystem of Xbox. I'm fine with it. I've always brought it around to Microsoft. If you like Microsoft, their Excel, their Word, any of that, they don't just keep it to the Microsoft hardware. You can get it for your Apple product. You can get it anywhere. So why not do the same with games? I don't care. I love the franchise. Let's keep it going. I'm excited about this. And I could not put anything in front of this number one anytime there's any Gears product coming out.
I do want to say quickly, Rampage is taking you up on that challenge as a PS noob.
I will gladly do that. I will gladly play you on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. So for full context, I did play the beta for this when it was live. Been part of the playtest for this game. It's interesting. It's the best version of Gears of War 1. It runs at 120 frames on multiplayer on the consoles. The campaign is getting 4K textures. They're remastering it. But, this game is a remaster of a remaster, because the remaster already happened on the Xbox One generation. And now we're remastering it again. It's not on Unreal 5. It's on a modified Unreal 3. So I'm just curious, do you think, and this game is $40 for full context, do you think this was needed?
Me?
Yes. I know you're going to say, but do you think this remaster was needed, or should they have just ported the Ultimate Edition?
No, I think it was needed, because I think because they moved this over to the PS5, that they needed it more upscale for the hardware. And to be honest with you, I think that they're looking to get a new generation of players into the franchise, because again, it's a flagship. It's, to me, this is up there with Halo. It defined who Xbox was. And I think they had to put one of their best feet forward to port it over on PS5.
Yeah, I agree. With the Xbox initiative, it does make sense. I just hope that there's more beyond Gears of War 1, because Gears 2 and 3, they're still locked to the Xbox 360. They're not on PC even. So there does need to be something done with Gears as a franchise. I like Gears of War as a franchise. I think it's a great game. I'm not as excited for this as you, because I just played Gears 1 again last year with you. So it's I'm not itching for it, and I'm not the diehard fan like you are. I think it's a great series, don't get me wrong, but I wish they would have invested in 2 or 3 at this point.
Well, again, here's my feeling is, if they would have put out the Marcus Phoenix collection with all 3 and charged $50, well, you got $50 for 3 games. Now, if they break it individually, they can make $150 off of the 3 instead of the 50. I'm all for a company making money when it's due. And to me, Gears of War, I'll pay any money for. But just as a side note, I guess Lady had said, what got us hooked into gaming, what game? And I think that's an interesting one. And as you see in the opening credits, I've been playing games back as far as it is, but when I think I became a gamer, and Kobe knows this, because again, these are conversations we've had, is on the NES, the original Zelda. It is the first game that I honestly played 24 hours straight, no sleep, played it, I got hooked on it. And I think that's when, if I look back in my history of gaming, that's when I think I could call myself that I was a gamer, because that hooked me 24 hours, couldn't get off of it. And that's what I did, because I played the Ataris, I played, the Intellivisions, I played them all of them. But I think that the original Zeldas would hook me.
Yeah, this releases really soon too. It releases at the end of this month, so people will get their hands on Gears of War Reloaded very shortly. And with that, we're going to go to my most anticipated game for the rest of the year, and we're going to be sticking in the remaster realm. And I had alluded to this a little bit earlier. My most anticipated for the rest of the year is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. And there was very interesting conversations around this game. But let me just start the reason why. Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the most transformative games to have ever come out. Kojima was like fully in his bag here, and Metal Gear Solid 3 is regarded to be the best of the franchise. And I have many fond memories of Metal Gear Solid 3. It's the one that made me love Metal Gear Solid as a series. And to see them go fully remake this in Unreal Engine 5, give it Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain-like gameplay, and just modernizing one of the coolest and best stories in video games, I think is going to be amazing to be had. Now, there is a lot of trepidations around this game as well, being, once again, it's Konami, and the lack of Kojima involvement. Obviously, as many know, Konami and Kojima had a falling out. And I think there's going to be a very interesting air about this game in the future, of whether or not does it really preserve the vision that Kojima had. And what does this even mean for Metal Gear Solid as a franchise without Kojima moving forward? Because this is Konami definitely testing the waters, and Metal Gear Solid has such a big fan base, me included. But Metal Gear Solid is one of the most popular games in existence. There's no denying that. And Solid Snake is one of the most iconic characters in existence. But without Kojima at the forefront, really pioneering these stories and his anti-war narratives and this crazy concepts, like, I wonder if Konami is going to move forward and try to make a new Metal Gear Solid game at this point, or if they're just going to stay on the remake train with this. But I think everything shown here looks to be preserving the vision of Metal Gear Solid 3 of what it was, even having these like funny mini games like Ape Escape. And for context, both platforms, Xbox, PS5, PC, they have platform exclusive content. So PlayStation has an Ape Escape mode, whereas Xbox and PC will have a Bomberman like mode, which really goes back to what Metal Gear Solid 3 was. And in the back in the day, it was an old Ape Escape mode. And they're even bringing Metal Gear Online to this game. And if they can kind of match what like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood did with their stealth multiplayer, I think it could be a really cool experience. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for this game to revitalize the Metal Gear Solid franchise after it's been dormant for 10 years now since the Phantom Pain. What do you think about Snake Eater here?
I think that it's going to be super popular just because of the Kojima fans. I think it's the next game. If they try to continue this franchise, that's going to be the test. Because now you're going off with real new content that's really not Kojima other than the name. So I think that's where the big test is going to be. I think they're not going to, bleed the soul out of Kojima out of this. I think it's still going to have the Kojima feel. I think you're going to still feel like Kojima. And I think it's the next game after this, if they continue it, that's going to be the big test of are you completely writing Kojima out of it?
Now, here's the question. Do they credit him in the game?
I think they have to. I think it's going to be a must at some point. You're using some of his IP.
They took his name away from like the box art of Metal Gear Solid 5 after the falling out. They stripped his name in a lot of areas in that game. So I'm just wondering, do they credit him here?
Interesting. Yeah. I'd be upset if they didn't, because the chat doesn't know, but Kobe and I are big Kojima fans. We went to see his Death Stranding 2 and saw Kojima live on stage out in LA. That would hurt my soul if they completely remove them off of this.
I feel like you have to credit him. This is his vision. This is his story, his game. Um, yeah, even Cherry Tomato Boy says, I don't think they do. Konami or snakes? Pun intended. Snake! But yeah, no. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. This game comes out August 28th. It is right around the corner. It's 4 days after Gears of War Reloaded. So we're going to have two heavy hitting remasters back to back. But I just think I want to relive Metal Gear Solid 3, some of the most iconic boss fights as well. But I think that's what I have to say. And with that, that is our most anticipated games for the rest of 2025. Let me know in the chat what you thought of them, and continue in the chat to let me know what your most anticipated games for the rest of the year are. I think we have a lot of exciting stuff in the pipeline. I think there's a lot of exciting video games coming out, and we still have many more things to come. And like I said, next week, next Monday, we're going to be live from Planet Retro Video Games down in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, where we will be talking to the owner, Dan, about the state of physical media and where it's currently at within this realm and the ever-growing landscape of the digital video game space. So, Dad, do you have anything else you would like to say to the chat? And then we can do our random pick for the Grounded 2 Xbox Play Anywhere edition, Founders Edition of the game.
Yeah, again, what you see here, this, honest to goodness, this sounds like it was a production put on. This has been our conversation for 25 years, 20 years or so. This is what Kobe and I do every single day, and this is why we said, why don't we bring it to a podcast? So as much as this looks like it was all planned out and we sat for hours talking about, this is what we do. This was just pretty much, so one, this is what we are, but two, again, we like just talking with us too, but we really want to bring value to this. And like I said, going to Dan at Retro Video Games, bringing it live from PAX. We're in the process of booking more guests, because I want this just not to be two talking heads. I want it to bring value and experience to you guys, and make you think about video game industry and where you fit into the video game ecosystem. And that's something that we want to do. And that's, again, if you want to sell your video games or have anything or want to buy video games, definitely go to our activereloadgaming.com and check it out. And the last thing I want to say, because I had a lot of feedback with this and it's not our fault, if you look at our socials, X, formerly Twitter, it's Active REL Gaming. We couldn't put Reload. They wouldn't let us put Reload in it. And Twitch, it's Active REL Gaming again. They wouldn't let us put Reload in it. So those are the two socials that didn't pick up as much. And I think because it's not Reloaded, Active Reload Gaming, it's Active REL Gaming. So things we got to work on. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're trying every week now to make it better than the last one.
Yep, it's an ongoing process. We're trying to continuously improve. We're refining our topics, refining how we approach the podcast, how we approach chat. So all feedback is good feedback, and I hope you guys can just shed some light on what we did well, what went wrong, and what we can do better in the future. I do want to plug our Discord. Our Discord is going to be the main way for you to get the code. And speaking of that, I have written all the names of people who have chatted today in a random name picker, and I'm going to spin the wheel now. So, the lucky winner of a Grounded 2 Founders Edition Xbox Play Anywhere title is Rampage. Rampage, congratulations. You are now the lucky owner of Grounded 2 Founders Edition. Hopefully you don't have it, but you join the Discord. I think you're already in the Discord, so I will contact you directly and get you that code. Also, within the next 24 hours, we will be giving away a Steam version of the game. So, join our Discord. It will be given away there. With that, I would like to close out this podcast and saying thank you guys for watching. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. Once again, stay tuned and see you guys next time.